Good afternoon, Standard 8 students. Now, the encounter of Bilbo Baggins with Gandalf. When Bilbo Baggins comes to know who Gandalf was, so he feels a little dismayed because he didn't know that Gandalf was an acquaintance of the Took family. From his mother's side, Gandalf seems to be very familiar, and he was a little upset when Bilbo Baggins spoke to him in a rude manner and trying to get rid of him. But Bilbo Baggins, when he enters his house, and Gandalf is left outstanding. So Gandalf, in the meantime, was still standing outside the door and laughing long but quietly. Okay, Gandalf was having some fun with Bilbo Baggins. So after a while, he stepped up with the spike of his staff, scratched a queer sign. Okay, now it shows that Gandalf was trying to act a little stubborn or trying to play a little mischief with Bilbo Baggins. So then Bilbo Baggins hears the sound of a doorbell ringing, because what happens? He told Gandalf, you come the next day, and if you want, you can have a cup of tea, or you come to tea to my house. And then Bilbo Baggins was cursing himself for having invited Gandalf to tea. But he was, when the bell rang, at once Bilbo Baggins felt that it was Gandalf who is at the door. But Gandalf had left. Okay. And then what happened? When he went to open the door, to his surprise, he found a dwarf. And this dwarf just opened the door, walked in, took out his hood, green hood, and put it onto the peg, and walked in, and he says, the dwellings is at your service. Okay. Now the two dwarfs. So now the dwarf comes in, makes himself very comfortable. Then Bilbo Baggins tells him that, look, I was about to have my tea and cakes, so why don't you come in and make yourself comfortable? Now, Bilbo Baggins was thinking that how come this dwarf had come to his house. Now remember, Gandalf had told him that I am looking for someone who could accompany me for an adventure. And then the hobbits, they are not very fond of adventures. And Gandalf insisting that he should take someone for an adventure, and his main target was Bilbo Baggins. So then he says, look, before you could ask me, I have already assigned you for 2 adventures. So Bilbo Baggins was quite shocked and annoyed. He says, I didn't even ask you. And what adventures are you talking about? He says, you know, the hobbits, they don't have an inclination or a liking for adventures. So no, there is no need for you to worry. I have already granted you 2 adventures. Now, when the dwarf came in, so Bilbo Baggins was still trying to entertain him, because the hobbits were very passionately fond of visitors because they love to show off with their fine furnished house. Okay. So now while they were having the tea, another bell rings, and this time it is louder. Now, this time Bilbo Baggins felt that definitely now it will be Gandalf outside. Now when he goes, he finds there is no Gandalf. There again another dwarf comes in, bows, introduces himself. Then he says, come and have some tea. Since we are having our tea and cake, you also come. Now Bilbo Baggins is thinking, now these dwarfs are gate crashing into my house, and I must have sufficient tea and cakes to offer them. So he was scared that he shouldn't run short of cakes, because it seems that the dwarfs are trying to enter into his house. Now the story means the adventure which Gandalf was talking about, it is an experience of Bilbo Baggins with the dwarfs. That is an adventure. How it becomes an adventure? When somebody who is uninvited, a stranger, a person whom you don't like or you don't know, if that person comes, makes himself comfortable, it automatically makes you feel uncomfortable in your own house. The hobbits, they love guests, they love visitors, and being a host, he cannot be rude to the guest. Though he was a little annoyed, an uninvited person coming into his house and making himself feel very comfortable, but yet to show his hospitality towards his guests, he had to be kind and considerate till the second fellow comes. So that is the adventure which Bilbo Baggins had when he was entertaining the first dwarf. Then the second dwarf comes. Now Bilbo Baggins is thinking, oh my God, maybe the third dwarf may come. Do I have sufficient tea and cakes to entertain themselves? But actually that was the trick Gandalf had played. Bilbo Baggins was thinking about climbing trees, sailing in the ship, going into the wild. That is not an adventure which Gandalf was thinking. Gandalf was talking about his experiences with the dwarfs. Now every one of us like to have a party. We invite people to our homes. Whom do we invite? People whom we are familiar with, our friends, our relatives. We don't expect a stranger who does not know me comes into my party. We don't like it. We get annoyed, we keep asking ourselves 101 questions. Why has he come? Who is he? From where has he come? What business he has to come into our party? Nobody invited him. But the hobbits were not like that. Their hospitality was very good. Though he didn't like the dwarfs coming into his house, but he was helpless. But he was kind and he gave them a good time, and that was the adventure. The two adventures Gandalf was talking about is the adventure with the dwarfs. Okay. So I'll end over here. Now we have come to the end of the chapter. Then the notes will be sent. Please learn the question and answers thoroughly with the word meanings, which will make you understand the story better. Thank you.